Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. The Deviljho update has just gone live, so if you download that, hop in the game, and then after gathering some footprints, finding Deviljho in an expedition, and ultimately completing the initial quest, you will then be able to visit the handler, grab the special assignment, and embark on your quest to hunt and farm the pickle. And once you've done that, you can then return to the smithy and begin working towards that new gear or those new weapons. There are 14 Deviljho weapons, one for each of the different categories, meaning that we have some returning weapons seen in previous Monster Hunter titles, as well as some new ones in categories that previously had no Joe weapons before, like bow, charge blade, sword and shield, etc. So in this video, I wanted to very quickly take a look at all the gear you can earn, the weapons you can make, and the Palico items too, and just briefly speak about what they have to offer. So if you do enjoy this video, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think, and also what's the first item you are going to be going after. Now, let's kick things off with the gear. You have the Fiendish Alpha and Beta sets. Now, I'm obviously a male character, so apologies, this is all you're going to be able to see, but if you check the video I uploaded earlier today, it has a look at the Alpha female set, thanks to some gameplay we got from the Capcom stream earlier on. As for the skills, I will say I'm a tad disappointed there was no attack boost on this set, since I was hoping it might have been a good way to start replacing some of those samey Doba armor pieces, and back in 4U, the Fiendish armor had attack up medium, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. The Alpha set has level 3 part breaker, giving you plus 30% part damage, level 3 handicraft, giving you plus 30 weapon sharpness, and it's worth noting all Deviljho melee weapons have white sharpness if you run them with enough handicraft. On top of that, you have level 3 speed eating, which greatly increases item use speed, and while this might not be a skill of choice for many of us, I can understand its placement on the set given Deviljho's tendency to eat pretty much anything. And finally, you have Latent Power level 3. Ignore the attack boost listed down below, that's from my charm. Latent Power level 3, however, provides 30% affinity and reduces stamina depletion by 30% when the effect is active. And as a reminder, Latent Power activates after you've either been in the hunt for 5 minutes or you've taken 180 points of damage. Outside of that, sadly there's no set bonus for Deviljho gear, so turning your attention to the beta set, that unfortunately loses handicraft altogether, but still maintains level 3 Latent Power and speed eating, but only has level 1 part breaker. However, as we're all very much aware, the main difference between the Alpha and the Beta sets are the slots. So for the Alpha set, you have one level 1 slot in the helmet, one level 2 slot in the chest, no slots in the gloves, a level 1 slot in the waist, and nothing in the legs. Meanwhile, for the Beta set, the helmet has one level 3 slot and a level 1 slot, which is pretty nice. The chest has a single level 3 slot, the gloves have a level 2 slot, the waist has a level 3 slot and a level 1 slot, and finally the legs have 2 level 1 slots. So while the skills might not appeal to you greatly, there is a decent degree of slot potential in there. So I reckon I could sneak a couple of those pieces into some mix sets. I also kind of want to make a mix set that uses the waist just because it looks like a wrestler belt. But either way, that's the gear. So now let's take a quick look at the weapons. Starting off with the great sword, you can see this is what it looks like over here, but if we go over to the tree view and drop down to the bottom, there are two versions. You of course have to craft the rarity 6 version first, the Berserker Sword, and then you can upgrade that to Anguish, the final form. The final form for this one has 1104 base damage. Again, it has white sharpness if you're running this with handicraft. It also has negative 30% affinity, which is something you will be seeing on pretty much all the weapons, some degree of negative affinity that you'll need to counter, but honestly it's not difficult to do that when you have skills like Weakness Exploit. You even have things like the Affinity Booster and plenty of other ways to stack affinity. It's really not difficult to overcome these. But you also have High Dragon at 240 and High Elder Steel, which is nice because up until now the only other weapon with High Elder Steel is the No Gigante weapons, so that is pretty nice. It can also be augmented twice, so lots of interesting potential here. As for the longsword, this is again what it looks like. If you guys have played previous Monster Hunter games, then this is something you would have seen in the past, but either way, nice to see it in HD. You then upgrade to the final version, the Reaver Calamity. This has 759 base attack, and again, white sharpness, negative 25% affinity this time, 210 dragon, and again, that High Elder Seal with your 2 augment slots. Next up, Sword and Shield. I'm super excited for this one because A, I'm a massive Sword and Shield fan, and B, we haven't had a Deviljho Sword and Shield before, so this is a new one for the series. Jumping over to the final version for this one, 308 base attack, again white sharpness, negative 20% affinity, so not quite so high this time, 210 dragon, and High Elder Seal. So this is for sure a weapon that is going on my wish list. I am definitely looking forward to crafting this one. As for the dual blades, another returning weapon. They look like this, as you can see over on the left. Do bear in mind, I won't be able to preview all of these in kind of full detail just yet. I do wish there was a nice in-depth weapon preview that wasn't just on your back, because for some weapons, as you'll see when we get to the hunting horns, it's a little bit hard to see things. But either way, they are dual blades, the Wrathful Predation, 308 base attack, more white sharpness, negative 20% affinity, 180 dragon, and your high Elder Seal. As for the hammer, Devil's Due is your rarity 6 version, but if you then go over and you upgrade that, we then have Devil's Crush, 1196 base damage. That is a nice amount of damage. Also the white sharpness, negative 30% affinity again, and your dragon at 210. So damage wise, that puts that on par with the Diablos hammer. Do bear in mind, of course, Diablos has Elementalist, which is able to boost that raw damage. So while this one obviously can't take advantage of that, it does have the dragon element to factor in, and when you pair that with the new dragon-proof mantle that boosts dragon damage, you can definitely get some rather interesting mileage out of this. As for the hunting horn, apologies, you can't really see much here because this is one of those ones that pokes off the top of the screen. But the final version of this one, Deep Vero, the attack for this one is 924, more white sharpness, negative 30% affinity, and 240 dragon. But if we tab over to the songs, don't forget that firstly, the hunting horn buff means that when you encore your self-improvement, you gain an attack boost, as well as the minor knockback prevention. But your songs for this one are attack up large, health boost large, wind pressure negated, and defense up large. And of course, those can be encored to improve those. So actually a really nice set of songs. Definitely going to be one of those horns that I think a lot of people are going to pick up and want to use moving forwards. As for your lance, this is again what it looks like. I really like the shield on this one. This has been in the previous games, but I kind of just forgot the design for this one, I guess because I didn't use lance quite as much in some of the previous games, so it kind of went unnoticed for me. But this one is a really cool looking weapon. But jumping down to the very bottom of the list again, the final version for this one is the Fiendish Tower, 529 attack, negative 25% affinity, 210 dragon. For the gun lance, you have the Ravenous gun lance as the first version. I really like this one. I like the shield, the way that it basically looks like Deviljho's face as a shield, and of course the actual big part of the weapon that looks kind of meaty. It's a long type gun lance, meaning it's typically good for charged shelling. The damage for this one is 529 attack base, negative 30% affinity, and high dragon at 240, which is pretty nice. Also level 3 shelling. So if you do like the long shelling playstyle, I typically prefer full burst, so I prefer normal, but if this is your playstyle for gun lance, then you can definitely consider checking this out. For the switch axe, this is what it looks like. Again, another returning one. It looks pretty cool though. Jumping down over here, Terra Tyrannus, 770 attack, negative 25% affinity, 180 dragon, and a power file type. However, moving on from there to another super exciting one, a new addition for Monster Hunter again, is the Deviljho Charge Blade. And this looks absolutely insane. It basically looks like a chainsaw, the wheel is basically like a buzzsaw, and it just looks absolutely insane. But if we drop down here, another rather interesting thing to note, of course, your base attack 792, negative 25% affinity, and 210 dragon, but it is a power element file. Now this is, up until this point, or of course pre-patch, typically you would use impact file as your bread and butter, and I still think for the most part people are going to be using those a lot, but they have made some changes to buff power element files. They're keeping the spread a lot closer, so it's going to be easier to land that full burst. So this paired with something like the Dragonproof Mantle could actually be pretty potent. So it's definitely something that is high up on my priority list. I'm going to be checking this one out very soon. Almost there now, Bad Wing, of course, the first version of the Insect Glaive, another new weapon. But if we take a look at the Rarity 7 version, 682 base attack, negative 25% affinity, and 210 dragon with, again, that nice high Elder Seal. As for the light bowgun, it's nice to see a bowgun that actually looks quite different, because I appreciate a lot of them do have the same sort of base design, so this one definitely stands out as a different looking weapon. But your final stats for this one are 299 attack, negative 25% affinity. If we take a look at the ammo types, then this one has, in truth, not the greatest selection of ammo. No rapid fire options, no auto reload options. I'm a pretty big fan of rapid fire ammo types, so kind of sad not to see any of those in here. You can also see most of the reload types are quite slow. It's got pretty high recoil, so you're going to have to do a fair amount of work to make this work. It's also got really high deviation by default, so you definitely need to work with this one. Your bread and butter ammo type in this will be normal, because of course it's got normal 1 through 3. Spread ammo is pretty sparse, only allowing you to have one spread type at spread ammo 3, so yeah, you're gonna have to kind of work hard on this one. At least on paper, it doesn't necessarily appeal to me massively, but it might be one of those things that once I actually get to try it and I get to mod it correctly, it might end up being pretty nice. So definitely gonna give it a shot, but for the time being, on the ammo front, not something that jumps out at me. As for the heavy bowgun, looks a little bit like this, and if we go down to the final section of the tree, you have 345 base attack, negative 25% affinity, again that high deviation, and if you look at the ammo list, very similar sort of situation here. Again, normal will be your bread and butter, slightly better recoil, but that's sort of an intrinsic nature of heavy bowguns. You also have spread, sticky, cluster, so a few different ammo types there, but again, it's one of those things that for me personally with bowguns, it's one thing to look at these things on paper, it's a completely different thing to actually get it and fire it in the training room and in combat. So for the bowguns, I'm definitely going to reserve my judgment until I actually get a chance to sit down and try them out properly. Then finally, turn our attention to the bow. Now this one looks incredible. This is actually going to be the first weapon I make. I use bow, I like bow, but I tend to spend more time playing with things like sword and shield or charge blade, longsword, insect glaive, different weapons like that. But honestly, this is going to be my #1 priority to farm because look at it, it just looks crazy. It doesn't look like a bow, it just looks like a gauntlet. So that I definitely need to check out. But stat-wise, we're talking 276 base attack, negative 25% affinity, 210 dragon, and by default it can use close range, power, and poison coatings. Bear in mind you can also throw in decorations to allow you to use the other coatings, but the main thing is it allows you to use power coating, which is pretty strong. So this paired with that mantle again could be rather interesting. So definitely looking forward to checking that out. But that's a very quick look at the weapon. So the very last thing, super quickly, if we go over to check out the Palico Gear, scroll down to the very bottom, this is what it looks like. You've got like a mini wrestler for your Palico. Looks super cool. I like that hammer. It's basically a miniature version of the hammer you can get yourself, except it looks more like a paw. The weapon itself is 65 melee, 22 range. It's a blunt weapon type, 180 dragon. Again, Elder Seal at the high and negative 25% affinity. And then that is your gear. So for the time being, that is pretty much it. That was a quick look at the Deviljho gear, the weapons, the Palico stuff, everything you need to know. If there's anything you guys have any questions about, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. But stay tuned, I'll have some more Deviljho related footage for you guys very soon. In fact, I want to go and farm the bow and the charge blade as like my first 2 weapons. So once I've got those, because they're new weapons, I think I might put together a quick video to show you guys, just so you can see them in the training room. Just a really quick look. So if any of you are wondering, where you should be spending your parts first or what you should be making first, then hopefully that will help you out. So I'm going to go and farm that now. Expect that in a few hours once I've got all the parts. But until then, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.